guess, can you walk us through the process of arriving here at Michigan State and coming from the NFL back to college, and obviously Joe and just kind of the fit in the Big Ten and all that.
Yeah, so I'll run you guys through the last game. I left the field, SoFi Stadium. We played against the Rams. I don't know what time that was. Flew with the team back to Arizona. Gave some guys my love. Talked to Calais, a lot of different guys like that that were on the trip. Just told them how much I appreciated them. Went back to the terminal, PHX. Got on a red-eye flight that landed here in Detroit at 5 o'clock in the morning. Got in a car from that red-eye flight, drove to the facility, walked into a staff meeting, then I started my journey. So I got like three hours of sleep on a plane, and I was in the middle of the row in between two dudes that looked just like me. So it wasn't too comfortable of a flight, right? But, Coach Rossi and Coach Fitz, they ended up giving me a call, and I got an opportunity to come back to Big Ten country, which is, coursing through my veins. And this happened to be the place that my wife is from. She's from Detroit, Michigan. So being able to bring her home and then being able to coach yet again under a guy that I played for and then coach for a guy that I admired in Pat Fitzgerald, like it was a dream come true, honestly. So being able to do so and making it a full circle thing for my family, I think it was priceless.
When did you know you want to get into coaching? Because it seemed, reading your bio, you went right after Minnesota, right into this profession. And when did you sort of know that that's what you want to do?
I did not want to be a coach. I didn't. And I tell everybody this, and I'm very, heavy into Christianity. Like, that's my religion. It's deep embedded into my heart. And I just felt like God was pulling me towards coaching. And it kind of felt like Jonah and the whale. And I was like, I don't think I should coach, and it just kept pulling me, and then my mentor got me into coaching, and Coach Rossi always told me and a couple of my other teammates, if you ever want to be a coach, call me. And when I called Coach Rossi, he tried to talk me out of it. He tried to say like a million different things to see if I still wanted to coach, and at the end of it all, he was like, all right, if you're hard-headed, if you're stubborn, if you can't live without this thing, then do it, and that means you're probably going to be really good at it, and hopefully I'm doing an okay job, after a couple of years doing it. So I kind of learned from a lot of great leaders when it came to being able to see what coaching was supposed to look like. But you compare that to, what you see around the country, and then you add that to the love of the game. And I think that's kind of what made me who I am today. So I get to sit in a room with the guy who urged me really to go do it after he tried to de-recruit me from coaching on a day-to-day basis. And that guy who sits at the front of the table, he really pushes me, Coach Rossi. So
why didn't you want to do it? Sorry, what was?
I wanted to play in the NFL. Like, if you would have asked me when I was a senior in college, it was, all right, here's my plan, play in the NFL for 10 years and then go into X, Y, or Z after, right? I saw how hard it was to coach and the grind and all those different little details, but everybody kept telling me, you'll be really good at it. You'll be good at it. Just kind of dive into it. And I sat down with Marcus West, and a lot of people don't know this, but while I was coaching at Charlotte, I was still trying to train for the CFL. And I guess he saw me out the window one day, and he called me in and he said, whenever you put both your feet into the pool, you'll be really great at this. But as long as you straddle the line, you've got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you'll be average. And ever since that day, I think it was kind of like a gut check. And I was like, all right, I'm going to dive into this thing. Like, I'm going to jump into the cold end, the deep end of the pool, and I'm going to see what happens. And I think at that point, I was like, I'm going to fully trust God's plan for my life. And from then on, it kind of took off. So
when I watch you guys coach, you, Coach Bullock, Rossi, like the whole group, James Adams in that mix as well, you're all intense guys and have just a ton of energy, even at 6 a.m., going through drills, detail-oriented. I wonder if that's a key strength of this staff with so many new guys and a team that's trying to sort of reach above expectations. Like, can that energy have a tangible effect for this group?
I believe so. I'll say this. I was on the couch last year because Saturdays in the NFL are a little different. You've got a little bit of family time after you're prepared for the game. Like, everything's ironed and put away. You get a couple hours of family time. And I watched Coach Rossi on the sideline. And I was like, I called my wife. I was like, babe, like, do you see that? And she was like, what? I'm like, Coach Rossi's not in the box. He's on the sideline. And I'm watching him be fired up on the sideline. And I know him to be that, but a lot of people never saw that because he was always in the box. Well, like, you come here, and I think he went out and he was like, okay, like, Coach Bulla, like, he's got Spartan blood coursing through his veins. He is going to be passionate every single day. Coach Adams is going to be passionate every single day. Coach Poe, like Coach Bendel, like all these, like me, all these guys are essentially at the standard that he wants with the passion and energy, then don't get me started with Coach Fitz. Like, I'm in combo drill and I'm bent over and I'm watching guys, and all of a sudden I look to my right, like it's like Coach Fitz is right next to me, like hat to the back just like me. He's like talking to the backers. So you got all these coaches who love what they do on a day-to-day basis and are 100% bought into it, and you watch it start to catch fire. I talked to my group about being a catalyst. Like, don't be the thing that's reactionary. Like, be the catalyst that sets the dynamite off. So if you want something great to happen, you've got to be a catalyst at the end of the day.
Where does that energy come from for you?
I think it's just loving life. Like, I've lost a couple of really good people like along the way that were very, very close to me, and I think that I've got to continue to share my story and live for the people who can't live anymore or can't play the game anymore, or the coaches who might not be able to coach anymore. And then I think becoming a father has kind of changed my perspective on things. Like, I want to be a coach for these young men the same way that I would want somebody to coach my son, with love, with intent, with detail. Some guys in my room, and I'll let that come out when it comes out, some guys in my rooms are going to be dads soon. And I want them to be able to see what it looks like from a model of character, what a coach is supposed to be, but not only like what he's supposed to do, but how he's supposed to live, and then the passion he's supposed to pour into it. So I'm not perfect, and nobody in our building is perfect, but I think the chase for us is making sure that we're the best player development staff in the country, and that's just not on the field, it's off the field as well.
Has anyone specific kind of like led you down the path to be so energized? Because like I'm like envious about how hopped up you are, like, has there been a specific moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to be 105%, 110%?
I think it's just all the different bosses that I've had along the way. Like, you go and you start the journey off, and I'm literally on Marcus West's hip, and he's got juice, he's running around at practice. Then you go and like, I'm out there with Joe Salavea and like Coach Mirabal, Coach Cristobal, and then you fast forward that thing, and I'm in Akron with guys like Trey Bell, he's down there as the pass game coordinator at Charlotte. He's juiced up, ready to roll every single day. Alan Tucker, who was our special teams coordinator, younger guy, juiced up, ready to roll. You go back to Minnesota, I'm back with PJ, right? Like, so he's juiced up, ready to roll. I'm back with Coach Rossi. So I'm picking up different ways to be able to continue that juice along the way. But I think you've got to cling to the guys on the staff that are like-minded, and are aligned with you. And I'm so blessed to be on this defensive staff because we just enjoy each other on a day-to-day basis. Like, it's like I said before, it's not perfect. Like, the guys are not perfect every single day. But if we can get them to match our intensity on a daily basis and the way that we love each other and our camaraderie, then we'll play as a great team. I don't know when, but it'll happen.
When Rossi was in here, he was telling us about when you were a player, the coaching staff was always trying to replace you, and they couldn't. I guess, were you aware of that at the time? And
yeah, I can feel it.
Okay.
I can feel it.
Does that sort of speak to the drive that got you here, I guess, or something? Does that support? What does that say about you, I guess? Maybe?
I still feel the same way, and I don't feel like anybody in the building is out to get me per se, but that's the drive that I have in the back of my head. When you look at some of the guys that played behind me, like we'll start with Asezi Tomawu. Right? He's going into year whatever in the NFL, and he's like my little brother, and I'm super proud of him. But he's got an 80-inch wingspan. He's 6'5.5". He was 275 pounds. I look like this, right? Like, I don't look like a prototypical NFL defensive end. But every single day I put that helmet on, like, I would rather die than let somebody take my reps or my opportunity. And that's how hard I played. So it didn't look as flashy as other people, but I was in the gap that I needed to be in when I was supposed to be there. And if you wanted to move me, you were going to have to do everything in your power. And sometimes people would move me. But guess what? The next play, I knew exactly where I could win and where I could lose in my fit. And I think that when you take some of that piece of my mentality and you inject it into my room, like, I'm going to have undersized guys every once in a while, right? Like, I've got some guys who aren't as big as other guys in the league right now. But if they can take that part of my personality, I'd rather die than be moved out of my fit, then we'll be okay, right? So I keep that in the back of my head, like, I'm going to push myself on a day-to-day basis because I don't know what other D-line coach could be eyeing down my job. So I just want to make sure that I'm the best for, the players first, and then for myself and my family next, right? And everything will fall in line.
Got time for a couple more.
Yes.
What was it like playing for Joe Rossi, not working alongside him? Is he the same guy? Has he changed?
It's similar.
How's your relationship? Like, how's that, from trying to impress him to now working for him and everything?
Yeah, it's similar. And here's what I mean by that. I can read his facial expressions and know what's about to come out of his mouth before it does. So sometimes before he even can correct the mistake, I'm already sprinting towards the place I know he wants corrected. And I think that might alleviate a little bit of stress from him having to coach it twice or coach it over and over and over again. Now, like, he's going to correct me as well. I'm not going to be a perfect coach. And there's some things that I've got to continue to learn. But if I can be a step ahead of him when it comes to correcting mistakes, then it allows his eyes to expand and his vision. And I think, like, it's the same with Coach Bulla. Like, you're looking at an all Big Ten linebacker, right, who's played in extremely meaningful games, right, and has done it. So he's already running to go ahead and correct the mistake. Coach Adams, Coach Poe, like, guys are all over it. Coach Bindle, who knows the defense like the back of his hand, he's all over the place. And when you alleviate a coordinator's stress points and allow them to be able to expand their vision on the game, I think that's when we can continue to progress as a defensive unit. So our goal is to be able to provide Coach Rossi a little bit of relief from that stress, because you could probably imagine being a defensive coordinator in the Big Ten is quite stressful. But our job is to make his job easier, and then essentially him and Coach Sheridan and Coach Woods, they'll make Coach Fitzgerald's job easier, and it kind of works up the chain. So that's my job. It's similar, right, because I know him, but it's a little different because it's a little bit more weight on my shoulders as a leader of a position group rather than just a leader on the team.
That chip on your shoulder that you had as a player when you're evaluating players, how big is that, I guess, in the evaluation process? And is there anyone on the roster right now that reminds you a bit of yourself in that way?
I think a couple of guys in my room do, and it's not just one guy like all the time, but I just see flashes of who guys are, and I just see them get fired up about what they know they could be and like how good, you know, or how much they're willing to work, to be able to close that gap. So like Kenny Soares, I think, is a guy who you look at Kenny and he just works. He just works. He don't care. And we got a saying in our room. We say, "So what? Now what?" Like, it's raining. So what? Now what are you gonna do about it? I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna play my butt off. And Kenny Soares is a guy that embodies that a little bit. Now I get after Kenny now. I do. I get after Kenny because I guess I do see myself a little bit in him. But as he continues to grow every single day, he's a guy that I see that chip on his shoulder as well.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.